Welcome everyone to Male Fuzz TV. I am Peter, that is Tara, and we are going to talk about Picard Season 3, Episode 1. It is called The Next Generation. I should have said Star Trek Picard, which is what made me sort of stammer a little bit after, but hey, we're here. We're here now. New season, the final season, the final frontier, you might say.
You might.
Yeah. So we're back after an abysmal season 2 to see what the final season is going to be. We've lost or killed most of the characters that were in the previous seasons, leaving only Picard himself, his Irish love interest, Raffi and Seven, but with the promise of the return of the entire crew from Next Gen. Although not all in this first episode. We get a couple of them, and obviously we're going to be sprinkling them in, and I presume we'll get them all eventually together somewhere later on in the season. They'll all be together and probably somehow in possession of a starship at that point. Like, so how they're going to steal the Titan or something, but there's somehow going to be a crew on a ship again. Like, I guarantee it. But
you think they're all going to be in the same positions too?
Yeah.
Are they going to have Lore be like the helmsman then?
Yeah, you can do Data's job. That's what they're going to do. They'll be too tempted not to. Like, if there's one thing, for better or worse, that you could say about this episode, is that they're going for fan service this season. So. Yeah,
I mean, they did with every season, right? But
extra
this one did feel good though. It felt good. I don't know. It felt good.
The nostalgia.
I'm hesitant,
shooting into your veins. You're like, I can feel it.
You know me.
I do like.
I'm like Raffi. I'm in the black market. You got that Star Trek. You got that good stuff.
I do like some things in this episode. Basically, the thing I like most about this episode is that Picard and Riker going off on their mission because they get a message from Beverly felt a lot like the start of the search for Spock for me, where the original crew are trying to steal a starship so they can go look for Spock. It kind of had a bit of that vibe, right? And obviously there's a little bit of motion picture when it doesn't last long enough though. They do the thing where they play the theme music where they look at the Titan and they're going, oh my god, look at that beautiful ship, but then it cuts off after like 10 seconds. I'm like, no, you hold on that for 5 minutes and anything less makes you a coward. Bringing
it around again, come on.
But I appreciated some of those vibes because it felt like they were going for a kind of older story, specifically an original series movie type of story. That's what it felt like to me. At least they're part of it. Original series movies.
Have you seen all the Next Gen films?
Yes.
Okay. This does feel like that. It does feel like, it feels like a movie, and maybe it's just the music and stuff, but like, it doesn't feel like Picard season 1 or 2, and it could just be like we didn't even get the intro. Like we get the music.
Yeah,
we
no
get
intro.
First contact music at the end during the credits. Also, I'm like,
yeah, we got that once last season because I remember pointing it out. There was like a scene at the end of an episode where they brought it in a little bit. But yeah, here we get that's straight up what the end credits are. You hear it a little bit during the episode. Instead of opening titles at the start, you just get the classic, Star Trek riff with a little bit of the Next Gen theme. And it just goes straight into it. It still has a lot of Picard problems. And but I say Picard, I mean the show Picard, not the character Picard. Raffi's plot in particular, I'm going to tear to shreds when we talk about it. I hated her scenes in this episode. It was like classic Picard was her scenes for all the wrong reasons.
I guess. This also kind of feels like the Next Gen movie stuff is where Raffi's storyline goes. Because the Next Gen movies always kind of had some sort of big cataclysmic thing happen.
But my complaints aren't necessarily like where it's going necessarily. It's more just how it's presented and how it's written. Raffi's scenes in this, like the scene where she's in like the black market and she's going to talk to the blue guy and try to like get information because and it was very obvious right at the
he was green, he was in Orion.
He looked blue to me, but it's not really important.
You should check your television.
It's not the point, it doesn't matter. the color of the alien is irrelevant. Right, and it's very obvious right from the get-go that she's just pretending because she's like working for Starfleet, right? She's not really like on her own, like being a junkie or whatever, and she's asking for all this information. Like, don't make a face at me. It was obvious.
I didn't think it was that obvious because I didn't know.
No, it was obvious because she was hammering it too hard. She's like, "Oh, I'm out of Starfleet," and she kept like, and that's my big problem with all of her scenes is that they are terribly written. Every single one of them is like just these exposition dumps where she keeps explaining things to the audience in really unnatural ways, and it happens with this guy where she's asking all this information and he gives her this vague thing, something about the Red Woman, and I'm like, "Oh, don't Red Queen stuff to me again." No, I'm getting Discovery flashbacks. don't do it.
Red Angel, yeah.
Red Angel, yeah, that was the one. And right, but right, whatever, same thing.
She turned her head. You know what I mean. It's a song.
Thank you for that bit of color. No, so and Raffi goes back to the ship and she's talking to her handler. She's like a deep operative with no real contact to anyone except her handler, who's just like text to speech on a screen, and it's all just for a start. It feels a little bit, I don't know. Like, I mean, this is almost like a pointless thing to say at this point in season 3 of this show, but it feels a little un Star Trekky that this is how they're handling this. But you know, whatever. But the whole thing is that she's trying to figure out what this plan is. Like, you know, some nefarious people, we don't really know who, have bought a weapon or stole a weapon from the Daystrom Institute that could cause mass damage, and she basically just Googles some stuff, and she eventually realizes that the Red Woman is the statue in front of this Starfleet facility. I think they said it was like a recruiting building or something like that, and she rushes there, and no one will talk to her when she tries to contact anyone, and she immediately just witnesses this terrorist attack happen, which is this giant portal cannon effectively has the facility sink into a portal, and then it falls out. Basically, if you actually imagine the game Portal with the red and the blue circles.
Yeah, that's what I thought of.
It goes in the blue portal and comes out of the orange one in the sky and lands on a bunch of the city. And so it's like, you know, mass devastation, and, you know, it's this thing. Yeah, like the concept of like there being like this big terrorist attack and like this big weapon,
specifically on Starfleet too.
Yeah, like that's fine. The problem for me is just how all these scenes are written and how it all just kind of has to rush and get to this as quickly as possible, and it's all just Raffi talking to herself and trying to figure things out, and just kind of monologuing at a computer constantly. I don't know. It felt really clunky and convoluted to me.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of falls for that thing again that this show's already done before, in which, okay, you're not showing us the face of the person, so it's someone we know. It's someone we're going to recognize as soon as they, you know, we see them eventually. Whether that's somebody from the Next Generation cast or otherwise, I'm not sure. Maybe it's lore, who knows? But because we know lore's involved.
Here's the thing. See if, like, we never got any of these scenes in this episode and we just got a scene at the end of the disaster happening, right? With none of the scenes of Raffi, would we have lost anything plot-wise by not seeing, like, Raffi, like, almost, like, try and figure it out and just not quite doing it in time?
Well, I think whoever she is talking to is probably going to be important to the show.
Oh, they're probably a villain. The cake is a lie, to use a Portal reference. The cake is a lie. Whoever's on the other end of this call is not really Starfleet, or they're evil or something. I don't know. That's my guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is all going to get connected to whatever Beverly's plot is also, where
Probably.
She says don't trust Starfleet. So is it a Starfleet inside job even?
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's just felt, this was like just the worst of Picard to me was all this Raffi stuff. Now,
I mean, honestly, all of this felt so much better than anything in the first 2 seasons. Even with Raffi, like, at least it was clear, like, nothing was spinning around, and, like, I don't hate her character, so...
well, no, I wasn't saying anything bad.
Still in it, so
I wasn't saying anything bad
her.
about her character. Like, don't misunderstand me. I'm talking purely about how these scenes are written. They're terrible. So, hated these scenes. trash is the word that I would maybe even associate with them. And it was that thing, as soon as it cut to this like space station or whatever it is where she's like trying to get this information, it just immediately felt like it was trying really hard to be sleek and cool, and she's like hiding her face, and then it's like a reveal that it's Raffi. Like,
we see the curls before.
The scene where she's talking to this alien dude goes on for so long, and fundamentally just amounts to her like saying things because it gives the audience all this information, but it doesn't really make sense that she's saying all this in the scene. And the fact that he doesn't immediately go, "You're a goddamn mole, the way you're talking to me, you sound like a cop." like that's just the way she comes off the entire scene, and he still gives her some information. I don't know, I just like everything about it didn't work for me. All of it felt clunky. That said though, my biggest worry of this season, and this has been a thing ever since like early Discovery, is that every season of these new Trek shows, with the exception of Strange New Worlds, which was obviously very good, is that whether sometimes it's turned out to be true and sometimes it hasn't, but almost every season, because of what the writing's been like, I've had this fear, a fear of where something might go. Okay. Do you have an idea of what I might be scared that they're going to do based on what happens in this first episode?
Something with Leslie Crusher?
No, but you're kind of in like just the alternate lane of where my mind is. I did laugh though when they revealed at the end that this young guy's Beverly's son. I went, "Oh, she got an upgraded version of." Wesley.
I'm glad they were like, "But Beverly, you don't have a son."
This is ridiculous. Beverly doesn't have a son. Jean-Luc, you're forgetting young Wesley.
Are you talking about the kid though, or?
I am talking about the kid. If this turns out to be Picard's love child with Beverly, I am going to lose my shit.
Well, I mean, now that you mention it, Picard did talk about legacy and how he didn't need to have one.
He talked about legacy, not needing to have one. He talked to the Irish lady about how him and Beverly tried to make it work at one point, which means they probably got a little the hanky-panky going on. And the guy, I couldn't help but notice, he's got an English accent. Which,
because obviously the accents are genetic.
I mean, no, of course they're not. But like, I think but that's a very TV thing to do, right? Is that to make us think of him, they give him a similar accent. Like that's a very TV thing.
Yeah, it does. It is sort of leaning that direction, isn't it? Especially with all the legacy talk. And he also talked about like, he had the flute in his hand when he was talking to Irish Romulan lady.
And for all the comments,
the
comments who, well, I mean, you've spoiled it by saying her name, but for all the comments who are mad when we're calling her that and are like, learn her name, no. I simply tell you no. She's Irish lady.
Well, I'll call her Laris just to make you mad.
You're not making me mad. But I'll happily make the comments mad on this.
So you also have editing power, so you could just edit out me saying it.
I mean, that's a bit petty, but
you could just dub my Irish Romulan lady over every time I say Laris.
I'll probably need to speed it up though, so it matches. So it'll be chipmunked. It'll be like, when Picard was talking to Irish Romulan lady.
Yeah. But when he was talking to her, like he was holding the flute, the episode where he actually did have a family, and he
was like, "You blow, I'll do the fingering." Yes, I remember that.
I've not seen that movie, but you reference it all the time.
Like, I'm sorry, but Alien Covenant has ruined the flute for me. Okay,
it's like a piccolo, right? Little thing that he plays.
I don't know enough about Woodwind to tell the nuance differences between all the
alien. It's an alien recorder. Yeah. So anyway, so Picard is thinking back from when he was a human, and when he was a human that was taken over by an alien, a dead alien species, to have him fix their water system. Only to find out that his whole life was a lie. And then he's not bothered by it at all. He's like, I'll just keep this as a nice little memoir of that horrible, horrific thing I went through in the past. And not just shoot it into space.
I feel like you have to confirm your stance on Inner Light here for the audience, because because they're probably confused, because that's a very loved episode.
Yeah, well, Inner Light is a very cool sci-fi concept, but like it doesn't hold up to any kind of scrutiny when you really think about it. It's a planet that like can barely get their water system working, and they have the technology to implant this memory / ability for someone to live out a full life in mere seconds and have family. And in order for them to be like, hey, we built this so that you guys will remember our species long after we're gone, except they only built it for like one person. So like, what happens when that one person is gone? What happened when Picard robot body dies? Like
he's written it all down. It's in the archives.
Plus, what does that do to a man? Like, obviously, Picard, not much, but like, in reality, living out a full lifetime only to find out that your children and grandchildren are just a lie. What would that do to you?
Yeah, there's some issues with it if you stop and think about it. Like,
yeah, it's a really great episode that is so skippable on a rewatch.
I don't I thought there was plenty to like about that episode when I watched it, but I mean it doesn't compare to some of the best episodes of the show of Next Gen for me. You know, it's a good episode, but like, you know, I easily have like a top 10 that all rank above it. It's not a debate for
easily.
me.
It's a cool sci-fi concept though.
But anyway, we're way off topic here because you had to go and throw some shade towards Inner Light.
Well, my reference though is way better than your Alien Covenant reference.
That was quick, and we moved on quite quickly. It was a bit of humor. It was a bit lively banter.
So anyway, you think this is Picard's legacy? I didn't even consider it, but now that you mention it, everything's kind of pointing in that direction.
I dread
Maybe it's
it.
all red herring though.
I don't know if I think it. I dread it. Is maybe a better sense.
Well, someone would have had to teach him the English accent. Because it wasn't Beverly.
Beverly, maybe they grew up in England. Maybe that's where they
on a
lived.
holodeck.
Yeah, maybe there was a lot of maybe she did a lot of Sherlock Holmes holodeck nonsense, and that's where he got the English accent. Yeah, I mean, anywho, the whole thing, but that meant actually the accent thing's true though, even if it's not Picard's kid. Like he didn't get his accent from her, so yeah, clearly he still got it from somewhere.
Someone else had to raise him.
Yeah, Beverly went and found an English substitute father. I got you.
Maybe he's just a foster kid.
I got you a stepdaddy who has an English accent, so that you'll also gain an accent similar to your real father.
Maybe she's got a type.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, we never met Wesley's father. Maybe he was also...
Well, we see him on the holodeck once. When he gives like a message to Wesley when he turns 18 or something, right? 18 or 16?
Okay, yeah. I don't know if I've got to that. Or if I have, it was 16. Because he's definitely not 18 where I am in Next Gen.
No, yeah. So we see him once. There's a holodeck version of it, but he's like a 20-year-old super handsome guy.
Yeah.
And nothing like Will Wheaton. Sorry, Will Wheaton.
So I'm not thrilled about the potential of this Sun plotline, and even as soon as he said it, I just kind of let out a bit of a groan, which also leads to my other thing at the start of the episode, which is that Beverly is like assassinating aliens with a phaser gun, and it's like she's John Wick. Well, that's maybe a bit extreme. Wait, what's that noise? Stop it.
I accidentally bent the can, so I try to move it away to unbend it.
Okay. Anyway, so she's she just like flat out assassinates these aliens that are coming after her before she sends out her distress signal to Picard. And I did have the thought in the scene, I was like, she's been a bit cold-blooded, which seems a bit on Beverly. But to be fair to the episode, when Picard and Riker eventually get to that crime scene, if you will,
yeah, I'm glad they said something.
They comment that doesn't seem like Beverly, so they're at least acknowledging that in the past 20+ years she has changed. She's went through something, and she is acting a bit more, I don't know, militant, a bit colder. Whatever.
I took it more of like whatever this threat is, like the only way to subside it would be to like make sure that they're gone, vaporized.
Oh yeah, maybe yeah.
Maybe they're like zombies or something, where if you stun them, they'll come back.
Well, I was actually kind of half expecting you to know what the threat was just because of the ship at the end. Because the cliffhanger is that when they meet Beverly's son, this big ship shows up and it looks dangerous and scary. I assumed you might just know what that ship was.
I mean, the only thing it looks kind of like is that thing from the J.J. Abrams first movie, but even that, it's much smaller. And I assume this is the Hellbird that she was referring to.
So what
it kind of looks like a bird.
So what you're saying is we're connecting to the J.J. Abrams movie somehow.
Well, I mean, I thought it kind of looked like that big mining vessel, just with the spikes, but it's so much smaller than that, and it doesn't look Romulan. And the message she gave to Picard was Hellbird, and it looked kind of like a bird. Like the front part did have a beak-like thing, and so the aliens had too. So they are bird-like, I suppose.
Yeah, but wasn't the word more to do with like deciphering the coordinates? Because that was like the computer, the virus thing that happened when Picard was taken over by the Borg. They brought that up in the episode.
Yeah, I guess so.
I don't know if that was to do with the ship. I think that was just to do with like decoding what the coordinates were supposed to be.
I didn't really understand what that whole thing was with the. He said you wouldn't have remembered because you were the cutest at the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a thing that I can recall in the episode of The Best of Both Worlds that there was a thing that they had to deal with. But maybe they did.
I mean, I don't remember either.
And then Hellbird was part of it. Like, why would Hellbird trigger that memory of threes and all that? I don't know. Anyway, whatever.
I just assume it is true. I mean, you're sitting questioning it, but I'm just going to trust them that it does connect to something in that episode. They actually kind of set it up at the start because just before we meet Beverly, she's listening to an old Picard captain's log, and he's talking about the Borg. So it sounds like it's from around that time. Probably that episode, maybe the episode before or something like that. She's studying the old logs, which kind of set me up to think that there was going to be Borg in the episode. But I mean, we did the Borg Queen stuff last season, so probably not.
Yeah, and I mean, just Seven and Locutus. They're the only Borg in the episode.
Oh, sure.
Borg.
Yeah. So I don't know.
I mean, it could relate back to the Borg. I'm not sure. I don't know what the species is. I don't know any species from the shows that were bird-like. Except in Enterprise, but even that wouldn't make sense to this.
Yeah. So, I mean, the thrust of the episode is Beverly sends the message to Picard. It's on his old communicator. He figures out what codec to use, and he goes to see Will. He was told not to trust anyone, especially Starfleet. And I get that Will's not in Starfleet and that he trusts Will, but technically Will's still someone. Like she said, don't trust anyone.
Well, he's still a captain in Starfleet. He's not officially out of Starfleet, according to this episode.
Well, they say he's retired because, or at least doesn't have a ship anyway.
Yeah, he's not a seated captain.
Yeah, but I'm just pointing out that he's someone. She said, "Don't trust anyone." Riker's still someone.
She says also no Starfleet, and they go to Starfleet to get out there.
Oh yeah, no, I know, but I don't think it matters that Riker's Starfleet because I get why Picard trusts him, but it's still kind of funny to me that she says don't trust anyone, and the first thing Picard does is phone someone and say, "Hey, Riker, I need to talk to you. Beverly sent me this message."
He can't go out by himself. He's so old.
Yeah, because Riker's a spring chicken at this point. Hell, every line of dialogue in this episode is about how they're old and defunct. He's got bad knees. No one wants the Enterprise D. It's the fat one.
I liked Riker a lot in this episode. He was very funny. I liked that he meets up with Picard, talks about how he has to listen to some old guy talk about boldly going for the next 250 years, and Picard's like, yeah, I'm going to be making a talk there too. He's like, yours is going to be great.
Yeah, no, Riker honestly was the best part of the episode, and honestly I think it's because Riker still feels like Riker, whereas
totally
Picard I don't think in any of this show has still felt like Picard.
I actually felt that he was more like Picard in this than in the other ones. Like he didn't he didn't hug anybody or anything. Like he wasn't overly emotional. He wasn't like flourishy with his language, waxing poetically about nothing. He was just kind of, I don't know, he felt a bit better. Like, even when he was talking about his stuff, he's like, whatever, I don't need to keep this. Legacy isn't important to me. I'm excited to, like, go on this next adventure with Laris to wherever she's taking him to live so that she can do her job. I don't know, I felt he was, like, even when he was like, give the painting to Geordi, like, I don't need it, it's just a painting. I thought that was, like, pretty cool. Like, he wasn't holding any reverence onto the painting just because it was something that was in the show and we all remember it.
I see what you're saying. He still kind of feels un-Picard-like to me, and it might not necessarily just be a writing thing. I think it's just partly because Patrick Stewart sounds so different. Like, he doesn't sound like Picard anymore, whereas Riker still sounds like Riker. But I mean,
yeah, Frakes is so good.
But like, I don't like. I think the moments that I liked to Picard in this episode were probably when he was bouncing off Riker, because Riker kind of brought out a little bit of Picard. Just something as simple as Picard saying, "Shouldn't you, call engineering and warn them that you're going to be going to like warp 9.99 or whatever?" And Seven's like, that's a lot of meeting now. Sorry, you don't really need to do that. And Picard just sort of shrugs it off, and Riker just goes, "I think you recovered from that." And he's like, "Shut up, Will." Like
that was cute, and I liked that. Yeah,
that
sure.
little moment was more natural to me than a lot of other things in this episode. Okay.
Well, he even did the look, right? He's like, where's that look of frustration and anger, but like tolerating or something? And then he's like, oh, there it is. And it's like, yeah, that's the Picard we know.
Yeah,
it's clearly like different people on this show who are working on this show, because it doesn't, I don't know, this feels so different from season 2, and season 2 was, I mean, it broke me. I don't break when it comes to Star Trek.
I don't think it feels that different. I think the warm glow and the nostalgia is, I think, giving you some rose-tinted glasses here a little bit.
Well, I don't know. Like, I have a new favorite character, and this show introduced him, and it was great.
It's not the new captain, is it?
Yeah, I think he's great.
Oh, he sucks so much.
No, I think he's
No, his introduction is so over the top with a close-up of the steak and like, swirling his booze, and
then Picard walks in and he's like, "Are we late?" He's like, "No, I started without you. Your reputation preceded you, so I thought I'd start early." But like, what a dick move to make, like, right off the bat. Every gift that they give him, he just insults them for it. Like, I'm more of a Malbec man. Here's your wine. Thanks for bringing me wine from your vineyard.
Nah,
I had to purge the ship of all your music because I don't like your free hippy dippy like jazz music. I like structure. I like melody. Like, even like the crewmen on the ship, who, when they're all lined up, are like falling asleep because they're clearly overworked. They're falling asleep while standing. I don't know. I like where this is going.
You can make these same character points without shoving it in the audience's face and being this forceful with it. I thought this was too over the top. The way it was shot, the way he's so aggressive, just like, I don't know, there was nothing subtle about it. It felt like a caricature to me of a character that we've not even met yet, and I felt like he was just too over the top.
I don't know. Like, I feel really nervous about Seven's fate, because she, like, it was clearly a big move of hers to take the ship to this system that they needed to go to, and disobey his order. So I think because they established that he is a hard ass, like, she's really he's really a threat to her.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm not into. I'm
not his retorts too.
I don't think his writing's good. It's much like the Raffi scenes. I think it's just too over the top. Like, they're too scared the audience won't get it, so they have to lay it on like times 10, because they think the audience is too dumb to get what they're doing with the character. Like, you can give me a character who's not going to be impressed with Picard and Riker, and like not put up with their like, we can come in and do whatever we want because we're the main characters bullshit. Like, I like that idea. There's nothing wrong with that. But the way they introduce him, he he's this antagonist when it should feel like a character who's not a villain, but he feels like a villain in every scene he's in because the way they present him.
He's not a villain though. He's just a different type of captain.
No, but they present him like a villain though. I'm not saying he is, but I'm saying he feels like one because they present him like it.
He's okay. Like,
do you know what the scene reminded?
He's also kind of no. Let me talk. He's also kind of the audience from the last 2 seasons. What we were frustrated by, especially me. Like he's like, okay, well, he's like, you're going to disobey an admiral. He's like, no, he's retired. He like literally has no power, and you're a captain. I'm a captain. I don't have to listen to you. You have no sway over me. So no, we're going to do what I do. This is my ship. I'm in control. We're not going to go on some like race thing because you want to prove the ship's power when it's not necessary. We need to be at the ready. Like, that makes sense to me.
No, I'm not arguing that. Like, I think those points you're making are completely fine, but it's the way they present the character. It's the way they shoot his introduction. It's his dialogue. He can make these same points without feeling like a cartoon character. Joey reminded me of the way they introduced him, the cutting of the steak and like the way he's enjoying his dinner. It was the scene from The Matrix where Joey Pants, his character's talking to the agent.
Cypher.
Yeah, Cypher. And he's in the restaurant and he's looking at his bit of steak and his fork and he's like, ignorance is bliss. And he's like,
Yeah,
right?
it's that scene. It's also Lord Denethor from Return of the King when he's like eating the plate while everybody is going off to fight for the kingdom.
I don't know her, but that was a meme reference. I don't know if you know that one, but
No, I don't know memes like you do.
It's a
I go outside.
Piss off. It's a gif of Mariah Carey saying I don't know her and shaking her head, which has done the rounds on the interwebs.
I love Mariah Carey.
I don't know. I don't really know anything from Mariah Carey. I know what she looks like. That's about the extent of my Mariah Carey knowledge. Anyway.
Mm-hmm.
No, so I did not like this character. Not because I don't think what they're in theory trying to do with them doesn't make sense. I didn't like him because of how they presented him and the way he talks. I just thought he was too over the top. So I can't agree with this.
I thought he was kind of refreshing.
I don't know. For me, it was another example of the show just being over the top with how it like portrays things and its style. Like everything has to be, we start this episode, Beverly Crusher. We start with her in an action shootout, and yeah, they acknowledge that she's changed as a character, but it still feels a little bit like, I don't know, like we have to be this, slick action show still.
Yeah, she was never the fighter. Like even when she was, abducted and stuff on the show, and she would still like do her job and always save people, even if they were the enemy. She's like, well, they're my patient, so it doesn't matter what side they're on, so it is weird that she's not just like stunning them but like vaporizing them.
Well, yeah,
and then also
that's like a separate though, like because we've kind of agreed that like that's something they do address in the dialogue, that she has changed and she's acting different. But there's the 2 parts to it. There's like her acting out of character, which could be explained by her changing over the time, and that's something we'll explore when we learn more about her and what she's went through. But then there's also just the way the scene is presented and how it's shot, which is a problem I've had with all of Picard and since day one, is that it feels like it's going for this ultra slick modern post J.J. Abrams style of Star Trek with characters that fit in the old version of Star Trek. So every time it does something like this, I feel it taking me out of like, it feels like they're in a different world to the one that they were in before.
The worst thing that's happened to Star Trek is that they've taken phasers and turned them into bullets. I think that's so irritating. Like clearly a phaser beam is better. It's cooler and it's Star Trek.
Did you like how her phaser rifle announced to the room full of enemies that it was empty?
Yeah.
You're out of ammunition. Yeah, tell all the bad guys that gun, you stupid prick.
Why does he have to cock it anyway? It's like a super soaker.
Yeah.
I mean, that was always the joke with even Lower Decks made a joke about it, like, what's the difference between a phaser and like the phaser rifles? It's like, well, you have to use both hands for the rifle. Like it's basically the only difference. They shoot a beam. Both a phaser can murder. You could set it to kill, to vaporize. Like, why? Why do you have to use something with two hands? Like, clearly one is better, and just do a giant beam that will destroy people.
Well, actually, no, I can make a devil's advocate for that. I think there's two possible explanations. One is your aim's better with two hands. That's just straight up true. That's just factual. Two, well, yes, a handgun can kill someone. That is absolutely true. But the reason why you might use a different type of weapon is, say, something like spread. You can hit a wider area, or you can fire quicker, things like that. There are other reasons and explanations to why a bigger weapon is effectively doing the same thing
in the show, because in the show it was just the same beam.
Sure, yeah.
So,
but if I'm going to be
get rid of the phaser anyway? Like, that's just such a mistake. If
I'm going to be nerdy though and like explain it, I do think there's reasons why you'd have at least a few different like sizes of like and types of phaser. Even if technically the technology that's making the beam itself is the same.
Can you imagine being in a fight with somebody and like you had bullets and they had a laser beam that will burn you like straight through you, and it was just always going? That's way more threatening.
Yeah.
But bullets are actiony.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's actiony. We have to do
go, pew 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 pew.
We have to do lots of quick cuts. We have to do lots of like stylistic, and it's so weird to like say this, but I feel like the direction style of, and this is true of all modern Trek. To be fair, this is not just Picard, but like everything has to be super slick, and I think it's particularly a problem with Picard though, because it's still supposed to be these characters that are from an older show. So it just kind of takes me out. Because I think, when you watch the original series and then you go to Next Gen and you see like some of the old characters pop up in Next Gen, it still kind of fits, because even though things have advanced a little bit, the way it's shot is still quite similar and it still feels like it's of the same world. Whereas I watch scenes in Picard with these characters and I'm like, this doesn't feel like they're in the same world. It feels like they're in an alternate universe because everything looks and feels different.
Everything's too slick for sure. I mean, I don't like the designs. It's a problem in science fiction in general, is that everything looks too shiny,
too sleek.
But it's just it's what you do now, because technology today is very sleek looking, and that's how you depict future, is based on where you are at right now. And so nothing has to be pushed, nothing has to be clicked, everything's just in the air.
Oh well, no, I mean, next generation was always touchscreens. They should have just stuck with that and just rolled with it.
And carpet. They should have stuck with carpet.
Yes.
Better traction.
Like,
you don't clean anything anyway. You have
I really felt it when they walked onto the bridge of the Titan, right? So Seven takes Riker and Picard out of the bridge, and they're standing there, and he's like, oh, it's, it must feel great to be back on a bridge, Captain Picard or Admiral Picard. And all I could think was, this doesn't feel anything like the bridge she used to serve on.
It's not just that, but like none of the bridges look unique to me. Like the Titan bridge could be the Discovery bridge, could be any bridge, honestly. Like there's nothing about it where I'm just like, oh, it's got this thing, and there's pictures of this stuff going over here, and there's nothing like tactical, because everything is either transparent or like a shiny surface with weird lights going across it, that it's just like a light strip or like a fluorescent bulb. I don't get it. I don't get the design. It's nothing like I can look at and be like, ooh, this is going to stick with me, because all the bridges look exactly the same.
I think it's the sort of thing where once in a while you get like a creator who will stick to a design of an older movie when they're making an update, and it'll feel more authentic because of it. But far too many are doing this thing where they feel like they have to like be more advanced in our own technology in the real world, and I don't think that's true at all. I think if you did Picard and they just used the tech that was from Next Gen, maybe advance it a little bit, but effectively make it feel like it's still in that world, I think it would probably be a lot more. It'd be a lot more unique as for a start. Like, I think you'd watch it and go, "Oh, this feels kind of cool," because it feels different to every other science fiction thing that's getting made. I felt the same when I saw Prometheus for the first time, and I'm like, why is this so much more advanced than everything in Alien when it's supposed to be set, decades before, but everything's holograms and shit. It doesn't make any real sense. And obviously this is a sequel, so yeah, it can be more advanced than what Next Gen was. It absolutely can. But it just, I don't know. At a certain point, it's less of a logic thing and more of just a taste thing. But yeah, I don't really like the design of a lot of the stuff that's in here.
No. but I liked Riker.
I like Riker.
And I like Seven in this too, actually.
Riker's the best part of the episode. Seven's all right. Seven, they're doing this thing with her, which it felt a little bit abrupt in the sense that all of last season was about the idea that she wants to be in Starfleet and is not allowed to be. I got a little bit of whiplash that in her very first episode of this season, she's clearly miserable because she's been like held down by the system and already wants to like kind of rebel against it. And I'm like, you were wanting this like all last season. That's all you talked about.
Yeah, but as someone who's been in the military, all I can say is that it takes one asshole in the chain of command to make your life miserable. And clearly, there's one here for Seven, and it's just the one guy that's above her.
Oh, this guy is definitely making everyone's life miserable. There's no denying that.
Yeah. I love that when they come on the ship and there's just like rows of the other Starfleet guys who are there to to greet the admiral who's come aboard, and they're just like, I already kind of mentioned, but like they're just miserable looking. Like no one's smiling. Everyone's just standing there. At least one guy is asleep.
Oh, we have to mention young LaForge on the bridge.
Who's played by LeVar Burton's real daughter. She was
really?
part of like she's been in like all the Star Trek Day stuff, and she's been acting and hosting and really involved in the Trek world behind the scenes.
Really? Her name's Ashley Sharp Chestnut.
Cute.
I was
I
was expecting Burton at the end because, but fair enough. I'll take your word for it though that it's his daughter. Yeah, I mean, there was only one quick scene where she's just sort of like is giddy because she's seeing Picard again.
She's a helmsman.
Yeah. Yeah, somehow we're going to obviously take over the Titan later this season, which probably means that Captain Shaw is probably going to bite it at some point. Something's killing him.
Yeah, I guess so.
Because they're still close by. This is worth mentioning, that they've not left the system. They're still close by where, Riker and Picard have taken this shuttle to. So it's entirely possible they may end up intervening because maybe he's like, I'm going to arrest Picard and Riker for, disobeying and sabotaging my ship and his mission, which I mean it's not a serious mission. He's just sort of taking like a ship somewhere because they've got Frontier Day coming up, but yeah,
right,
yeah, it's not high stakes, but yeah, he's taking it very seriously. No denying of that.
I'm excited for this character.
Yeah, I think the Riker stuff mostly worked for me. I kind of like the feel of them getting together and sort of getting up to no good because they need to go help out one of their old crew members. Those ideas are fine with me. I still have a presentation style problem with the show though, in the direction and how it rates a lot of its characters. I thought all the Raffi scenes were pretty cringe with how overly written they were. I didn't like the new captain guy, but not because conceptually I have a problem with him, but just because of how they introduce him, how he talks, how they present him. It was all just a little bit like, I don't know, just the writing has been a problem on this show since day one, and I'm still kind of feeling it even in this.
Do you think it's not just like, oh, I don't respect him because he's an admiral who, is a loose cannon before and I'm not that way, or is it more because he called him her Seven's old friend and referred to them both as ex-Borg? So do we think that maybe there's like a personal reason involved?
Oh, prejudice. Yeah, no, I could definitely see some prejudice, and
that's why he's a real dick to them, is because of that.
Yeah, maybe they'll do something with that.
Like maybe he was at Wolf 359 or something.
Yeah, no, I could see them doing something with that. Yeah. All I'll say is though, I remember being mildly optimistic after episode 1 of season 2, and then season 2, like.
But I get it. Yeah, we gotta go in this.
Like, actually,
we can't be too excited.
I tell a lie. It was more episode 2 that I was optimistic after, because episode 1 was a little bit clunky. But when they set up the time travel plot last season, it was like, oh, this might just be a fun romp because I'm not going to take it too seriously and it'll just be a bit of fun. And then somehow it managed to like go under those expectations by like miles by the end of it. So
yeah, this feels different. I think I am excited for this. I initially didn't want to do a review for season 3 because I was just so broken.
I remember.
But you talked me into it, so I am going to go in optimistic still because I can't help it.
Talked you into it. I said, "Hey, Picard season 3 starting this month, Tara. Do you want to review it?" I was like, "Yeah, we should." that was the conversation.
I said, "Well, I'm going to watch it," and then I think you took that for a yes.
I've got the receipts. I can pull up the conversation if we
please
if
do.
we must. But yeah, so I don't know. Like I hope it's at least better than the last couple seasons. I guess their ace in the hole here is this idea they're going to like gradually bring in the old cast members. So every time something's annoying us in a writing perspective, they'll hit us with like Geordi, or they'll hit us with Worf or whoever.
I am excited to see Old Man Worf. I want to know what he's been up to.
Do you know what? I'll forgive this new captain asshole if we get a scene where Worf encounters him and tears him a new one for disrespecting Picard. I'll enjoy that. I'll enjoy Worf going like
full Klingon
on him. Yeah, get the Cathla out and show him what for. That'll give me a chuckle. But yeah, I do like the idea that like he's basically, no, I'm not just going to give you two what you want just because technically you're respected in Starfleet. Like, nah. Like, I appreciate that
retired.
idea. I just didn't like his character. I thought it was too over the top and presented in this like, you know, like I like when I was like, because I watched the episode a couple of days ago and then I gave it a bit of a skim before we came out to record, and when I got to that scene, like I was like gobsmacked, like paying attention to it, like especially this time, the way they start that scene with like the close up of the steak being cut and the swirling of the booze.
It's blue steak.
It's blue steak. Is that just a Star Trek thing, or is there a real thing that's dye steak blue? I'm assuming it's a Star Trek thing.
It's gotta be a Star Trek thing.
Because the original series had them eating lots of like colored cubes, so I think this is a reference to that.
I just assumed it was some alien creature that was blue. Hopefully not an Andorian. Hopefully they don't taste good.
Yes, Andorian. Yes.
Some kind of alien meat.
Yes. Andor, not just a character in Star Wars.
Indeed.
All right. Well, I guess that's. Is that the review? Is that everything?
I'm excited for what comes next.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's Worf.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see. We didn't really even like go beat for beat in the plot, and I don't really feel like we need to be honest. We kind of covered all the main bits just out of order.
I think so.
Yeah. I hope it's better. I do. I genuinely do. But this still feels like Picard, the show, to me. Don't get me wrong, it's nice that we don't have to deal with certain characters anymore, and it's nice that at least we can have some classic music and get some other characters that we want to see. But,
was Raffi on the La Serena?
I think she had Thingy's old ship.
Yeah. Just curious.
Rios?
I was just thinking about all the
name?
characters. Yeah, Rios.
Yeah, okay.
Rios is in the past.
Took me a second. Yeah. Yeah,
he died in a bar fight.
Yeah, he died, didn't he?
He died in a bar fight. Yeah. After he was with the girl though in the past. Like he stayed back, and I think he lived like another 20 years or something. And then died in a bar fight.
It's so weird how the show just like as much as we wanted it to happen in a lot of ways, it's kind of weird how the writers kind of accepted that no one likes these, like, we're just going to kill them all so we can have a fresh start and bring the old cast back.
Yeah, and Raffi and Seven, who definitely shouldn't have been together because they just hated each other, are not together anymore.
Well, that was the thing. It sounded like a nice idea, but then in the actual show,
I was excited about it. Yeah.
But in the actual show, all it ever was them complaining that they were falling apart. And I'm like, okay, we never actually got them being happy or why they fell for each other. All we're getting is the misery of them breaking up. Like, that's all we ever got.
Yeah. It was just like, I don't know why they're together. They clearly hate each other.
Oh dear.
Every episode they just fought.
I'm getting mad thinking about season 2 now, so let's wrap up.
Yeah.
Oh my god, Picard walking around the tunnels underneath his house with the ghost.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, season 2 was so shit.
Season 2 was a fever dream. I'm pretty sure I had COVID the whole time. It wasn't real.
And Gaius Baltar showed up and was talking. That was his father. Oh yeah, it was full of nonsense. Anyway, this has been our thoughts on episode 1 of season 3 of Star Trek Picard. I'm looking forward to Strange New World season 2. That's my review. You enjoyed that show.
I enjoyed it, but it has the worst captain. Captain Pike stinks.
Oh, you're more of a Captain Shaw girl, are you?
He's interesting, at least.
All right, that's the thing. Yeah, go support us on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. You can support us over there for money every month, or you can give us a super thanks on YouTube, or of course just like, subscribe, ding the bell for notifications and all that usual stuff. All of it helps out with the dreaded YouTube algorithm. But that has been our thoughts on the Picard season premiere. We'll typically get to this at the weekend, I imagine, each week, so look forward to another 9 weeks of review. Thank you kindly. Keep watching.
I'm looking forward to it. You sound miserable.
I'm looking forward to teasing you about all the things I don't like. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Okay. I'm looking forward to watching the show.
I will try and look on the bright side. Okay, I will try and be happy.
Mm-hmm.
If they give me something to be happy about, I will be happy.
Okay.
Okay, actually, one last little thing. Do you think we'll get Wesley like popping back into existence again like he did at the end of last season? Just so he can go, wait a minute, I've got a brother?
I want Wesley to be the villain.
I want Wesley to show up and then Beverly to go, hey, this is my son Jack. He's the son that I always wanted. The son that I never thought I would get.
Well, Jack's the name of his dad.
What?
Jack Crusher is the name of Wesley's dad.
It's also the son's name.
Oh, so he's named after her dead husband?
Well, according to IMDb, it says Jack Crusher. That's why I said it. I didn't remember that his dad was called Jack.
You don't think he's a clone?
Could be clone. Star Trek. Hell, Picard's technically a clone right now.
Picard's a robot.
He's a robot clone, which the show doesn't want us to remember. Just brush past it. Just pretend that never happened.
I wish they would use it. I wish he just had data powers. You know?
Well, I've not watched any of the press stuff or the build up to season 3, but apparently when they've been asked about, like, can you just jump into season 3? Like, generally speaking, everyone's been like, yeah, you can jump in. Season 3 is a great standalone story. You don't need to watch season 1 and 2.
All right.
Which I think ties in, because even in season 2 we felt like, oh, they're just like ignoring the fact that Picard switched bodies to like a data like robot.
There was one moment where he was getting defibrillated.
Yes.
It was the only time it was like, what's wrong with him? But otherwise, yeah, I wish he had data powers. Like, I wish he would just accidentally grab something and crush it, or like when the Tesla hits him, that the Tesla gets all bent up around him, because he's a robot.
It would be a little too silly to take seriously, but there would be some charm in like old man Picard who can barely move also having super strength.
Yeah, exactly.
There would be something funny about that, but all right, that's the thank you. I tried to outro this like 5 minutes ago. Thanks very much for joining us. We'll see you next time. Keep watching TV. Have you got any vanilla?